I love the fact that you don't do what so many people who end up in my office do, which is come home every day and recite a list of things they did for the other person. Like, by the way, you know what I went through today for you? You know what I did today for you? And then and did you notice I also made the bet? And did you notice I also and they kind of count the cost. And instead, it sounds like you guys both just are part of this team. You're doing your own things. But part of the challenge of that, then, I applaud you for that. I think that's the way to conduct yourself in relationship. But I do have to say that one of the dangers of that is that, sometimes by making it look easy, like the other person doesn't even know. Like they don't even know what's involved, until you say it. And you're afraid to say it because you don't want the person to think you're complaining and counting the cost and comparing. Because again, if you said, well, I have to do this, 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 and this, you have every right to go, okay, well, I have to do this, 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 and this. And and now we're just having this arms race of who is having a harder time. And there's no need for that. But there is a need for both of you to try to understand the other and be radical in that empathy. I think that's the solution to 99% of disconnection between a happily married couple.
I think that when you said just trying to understand each other, that's not what we were doing in the original bicker that we had, where he was like, what's the big deal? We'll leave on Monday. And I immediately went to not thinking oh, he just wants to spend another day in New York. I went to thinking he's just doubting me. He just wants me to plead my case for him. Right. And now I'm on the stand. And now I have to convince him why we need to leave on Tuesday. Yeah. And I probably, if I had just approached that differently, we might not have bickered about it, because it was
you felt like if you're explaining yourself, you're defending yourself. And and James, what you're saying is you not necessarily defending yourself. You could just say, dude, this is why I don't want to go.
Right, I need you to understand.
And I'll empathize with that.
And I think if you presented why you wanted to go in the right, framing things is so important, right? As a lawyer, a lot of what I do is framing something. So if one spouse has been responsible for the finances, I can frame that as I've had all this responsibility thrown on me where I had to be in charge of the finances. Or I can present it oh, this person maintained a maniacal level of control over the finances and refused to allow their partner to. So I can frame anything anyway. So you can frame it as he was diminishing the value of the things that you do and how difficult it is. And he was only thinking about what he'd enjoy doing because he's selfish as hell. And you could parse it as she is so much, she creates so much drag. She makes everything harder than it needs to be. I know we could do things faster. She doesn't think what I'm doing is important enough that it was hey, I can do this little extra bit of work or work a little harder at something that and you can just go off to the races, make everything sound nefarious. But ultimately, that wasn't what happened. What really happened is I'm sure the reasons you wanted to go sooner are lovely reasons. Yeah. It's probably things about you that she loves, that you're excited, that you have lots of things you wanted to do, or maybe you want more time with her, or maybe you just like being out of the environment that you've been in and it would be fun to do that. And those are probably the things about you she fell in love with. And I bet you fell in love with the fact that this is a person who's gonna make this amazing nest and who's gonna be such an organized, thoughtful person and is gonna make it effortlessly happen, plus she's a professional. There's so much about why you like each other in that conflict.
And I think what you're saying is, rather than me taking a positional stance, like you said, and saying, no, this is why logically we should go Monday, I should have had more empathy and just been hey, listen, I'm not putting you on trial. I want to ask why you want to go on Tuesday so I can understand.
So I can understand. Anytime you ask for help.
So I can generate more empathy. And if I had understood, okay, no, there's a lot of shit to take care of in 2 days.
If you even just as simple as saying, hey, can you help me understand? First, I'm just super excited to spend time with you. But if I'm not thinking this through the right way, I do that sometimes. So can you help me understand why we wouldn't do it the way that I'm proposing? And if she meets that with, well, because you don't, okay, now we're off to the wrong. But if she meets it with that same level of well, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I need to do this, 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 and this. And I feel I'm gonna have just got back from Vegas. I'm gonna get turned around. I'm not even gonna have a minute to get together. I'm gonna feel very frazzled. A lot of what she was describing in the things to do, when you were talking about it, all I could think was how that feels. I would just feel I didn't know which way is up. I felt she was saying I just want to kind of settle in and get it together and not be rushed. And then feel when we left, okay, everything's I didn't leave I'm leaving a crime scene. I left, it was organized. And that's a feeling. And like, you're not going to argue with each other's feelings.
Right.
Like, you feel what you feel.
I needed whether
Both of you.
I should have received it better, and maybe Christina could have delivered it better. Her emotion, like the emotional component behind why.
I think you're saying that really
true.
well.
Yeah, I mean, because I immediately was upset, like, oh, he doesn't get it, he doesn't understand, he doesn't know everything that goes into this.
I'm just
and
a little
then,
dumb. Like, you just have to slow it down.
I didn't give you the benefit of
You
the
think about
doubt.
different things.
Yeah.
Like, your focus was on different things.
Because Monday came around, and sure enough, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot to do.
Yeah,
There's no way we could leave today.
Right.
We have to leave on Tuesday.
And by the
Yeah.
way, there'd be a lot to do on Tuesday too. And there's a lot to do
true.
on Wednesday. Like, there's a lot to do. And sometimes when someone is saying something like that, what they're saying is, man, this is hard. And one of the best things you can say is like, you know what? Like, I'm married to the best woman. Like, the fact that you just do all of that and you make it look so effortless, I forget sometimes. Like, I forget how, like, you make it look so easy. I think it's easy. Like, and that's incredible. Like, what a lovely, lovely problem to have, you know? And you know that that's a lovely problem to have. But you said something really, you parsed it the right way, which is you said you got positional. And that's exactly what it was. Like, I used to teach a negotiation class at a law school in New York City here. I'll leave it nameless because I don't work there anymore. But it was a part-time job. I can't have any more part-time jobs. But one of the things I used to teach people is one of our first classes is I called it the problem of the lemon. You know, so you've got two people and they both want the lemon and there's only one lemon. And so what's the best way to solve that problem?
Give one of them an orange.
No, you got one lemon. That's all you got. And they each want a lemon. What's the best way to solve the problem?
Cut it.
Cut the lemon in half, right? Okay. One of them wants the rind for baking. The other one wants the juice to make lemonade.
Yeah.
They could both have 100% of what they wanted if someone just stopped and said, why do you want the lemon? But nobody does. Nobody does. Everybody just goes, well, there's only one lemon and we both want it, so let's just cut it in half. And then they both get one half when they could have had 100% of what they needed. So if you can kind of, with any conflict, but this conflict's a fine example, right? Because it's not super emotionally charged, but it has some emotional charge behind it. If you can get to the emotional charge behind the thing, like as an advocate, as a person who essentially in a courtroom practices full context storytelling, what I often try to do is get to the emotional component in the story. Like, what is it about this story that's going to hit the judge, that's going to be persuasive to the judge? And I think ultimately, like, both of your perspectives in this, if you cut to the emotion of it for yourself and for your partner in an empathetic way, I think you're going to get to a solution that both of you feel better about. And it might be saying, I'm conceding this one. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's go on this day instead. Or both of you will understand each other's position a little better and a compromise will emerge where you go, well, you know, why don't I help with X, Y, and Z and I'll take the baby over here and I'll make sure, and then you can do this and this and I'll go out to the store and I'll make sure we have food. And then by dividing that labor, maybe we can leave a little earlier on this day. And there's a solution there. And nobody feels like they won or lost. Because, like, I'll let you in on a secret. You'll never win an argument with your spouse. You'll never win. Because if you lose, you lose. And if you win, your spouse lost, which is a loss for you. Like, you don't want to win against her. You don't want to win against him. You want to love each other. And so winning, losing, like making the other one feel like a loser is never a win in this situation. Like, this is not an adversarial relationship. So you don't want to win. You want to find a way for both of you to feel heard and good about the outcome, period.